In the first segment of this series, Buddha Goes to School, I introduced a particularly interesting NGO, non-governmental organization, CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And I talked about its founder, Daniel Goleman, who actually was its co-founder with another person whom we'll get to later. And the fact that Goleman got the idea of emotional learning from an interesting source, being the Dalai Lama, who is the leader of Tibetan Buddhism and is regarded by his followers as being the 14th reincarnation of an ancient Tibetan Buddha. So we have CASEL with an interesting link to ancient Buddhism on the one hand, and now we're going to talk about another extremely important link it has, and that is to John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller was born in 1839 and died in 1937. He lived to be 98 years old. He came from humble beginnings and eventually became the wealthiest and therefore most powerful man in the United States and perhaps in the world at the time. Bill Gates, to put Rockefeller's wealth and power in perspective, Bill Gates just recently achieved a net worth of $90 billion. Rockefeller, at the height of his wealth, had accumulated, adjusted to contemporary dollars, wealth equivalent to $340 billion. Unimaginable wealth and therefore unimaginable power. And he was able to do this because he was extremely intelligent, very hardworking, extremely shrewd, somewhat unscrupulous, and also because he was driven. He had a very strong desire, an insatiable desire for power and control. So this vast wealth gave him the power and the control that was inherent in his personality. And to illustrate that, let me read something to you. He and an associate founded the General Education Board. Rockefeller founded innumerable organizations that we would now call NGOs, non-governmental organizations, for purposes of exercising control all over the world. This one, the General Education Board, has something very interesting and revealing about Rockefeller in its statement of purpose. This is verbatim. In our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. That was Rockefeller's dream, to have society yield with complete docility, with the tranquility perhaps associated with a Buddhist monk, to his molding hands. CASEL's co-founder with Daniel Goleman was John D. Rockefeller's great-granddaughter, Eileen Rockefeller. And she and the rest of the Rockefeller dynasty seem to also partake of John D. Rockefeller's desire for control and power, and they would insist that it's control for good purposes. They want to control what people do for the good of those people. And she also shares her great-grandfather's vision that a way to exercise control over people, a way to shape people and society, is through education. And that's going to put her in touch with Daniel Goleman, and the two of them found Cassell, and we'll pursue this intricate and I think very interesting story further in later segments of Buddha Goes to School. As usual, thank you for listening. It's another beautiful day in Bell Buckle, Tennessee.